Yes, people, and welcome back to We Are Tottenham TV with your boy Ashmatic. I'm gonna go over the analysis for Big Ange's Tottenham Hotspurs versus Man City away at the Etihad, where we got the 4-0 dub done. Yeah, but let's get straight into it, man. Let's not delay. So we saw the lineup with Adogi, Vicario, Porro, Dragusin, Davies, Saar, Basuma, Madison. We saw Kulusevski, Son, and Solanke in the front three. That was our starting 11. And just to get into Man City real quick, also they had with Carl Walker, they had Stones, they had Guardiola, they had Lewis, they had Akanji, Bernardo Silva, Foden, they had Savio. Also, they had up front Haaland, and also had Gundogan as well, with Edison in goal. So that was a lineup going into it. Just quickly go through what I saw. It was normally like a 4-3-3, sometimes a 4-2-3-1 for both teams. Won't go too much into that. You can see the momentum bar for yourself. They dominated the first 15 minutes or so. Then we scored against the run of play. And then pretty much the rest was self-explanatory. Just to go into the stats real quick, we had 42% to their 58%. So they had the lion's share of the possession. XG, we had more of 2.51 to 2.14. 4 big chances to our 6 big chances. Total shots 23 to our 9. And saves 3 for them, 5 for us. 9 corners, 3 corners. I won't go any further with the stats. It was boring. Cool. So just to talk about the passing lanes, and I could see there was a relationship on our left-hand side. That meant that we tried to build as much through that left-hand side as possible. You can see Ben Davies was the main person to kind of go to in terms of starting that kind of play. And you can see was that not just normally your Doggy, Son, and Madison. You also saw Dominic Solanke, number 19, peeling off as well, and even Basuma as well. On the right-hand side, a lot more direct, in my opinion, as you can see. Just quickly on Man City as well. Man City, you saw the 3 forwards in Savio and Foden, and then you've got Haaland, being Haaland, number 9, the focal point. And then just with the midfield, you've got the Gundogan and Silva, kind of peeling off to that left-hand side with Guardiola, the widest of all 3 of those midfielders, playing almost like a winger. But yeah, I won't go any further into that. But yeah, moving on, you can see Bernardo Silva had the most progressive passes and carries alongside Vardial and Akanji. We'll get into the reason why that was into the video as we go further on. I won't go too much into the XG, but you can see we got the goals that mattered. But yeah, I'm going to start here. And Spurs press straight away off the back, literally from minute 1. We were trying to force them into errors. And this is something we can speak about in terms of Spurs being a defensive unit. We're trying to press the numbers. And I've circled off 3 City players. Ball goes into Foden, and they actually beat our press. And not just the first phase, but the second phase. There's actually 3 different phases of defensive play here. But anyway, Foden has the technicality and the good footballing ability to beat our players. You see one of our players have jumped. He's actually turned them on a half turn. And as a result, he's beaten that midfield by cutting them open with one single pass into the space. I circled those players just because it was a 2-3 shape, but that one pass is found in Savio in that space. He's gone into Haaland there. Haaland's wide. Ben Davies is recovering, trying to get back into shape, back into his defensive place where he should be. But a heavy touch and the ball underneath Haaland's feet actually is what kind of buys Ben Davies some time. He's able to get his body shape right, delay him, slow him down. And as a result of that, he gets his shot off, but it's deflected wide because Ben Davies does well to get back. Here's another incident for Spurs, creating that press with Son leading it. I've got this area squared off. The reason being, you've seen Adogi, you've seen Basuma, you've seen Saar or Madison all backed up, trying to break that press, trying to come into them. And as a result, this time the press is a lot more successful. We win the ball back, not through the first press, but the second phase of the press. Then it breaks into Son because we win the ball up in a dangerous area. This is what Spurs are good at. If Son's a bit more clinical here, it goes into Kulusevski. Equally, Kulusevski, if he had a bit more pace, he would have got there in time. If Johnson was probably in that area, you know, he might get on the end of it. but nonetheless, that chance goes wanting. But here again, another City chance, and it's down that left-hand side. And I spoke about the progression of Bernardo Silva and his ball carrying, his ball passing. The reason why is because he liked to pick up that space on the left-hand side, and he acted as a left back to progress the ball to Vardial. Why did he do that? Because technically he's one of their better players, and so they use him as a ball progressor. Vardial finds the ball into Savio. Savio dummies it, goes through his legs, gets in between the lines, able to find Haaland with some space in between Doggy and Ben Davies this time. Gets his first touch off. Good save from Vicario. Getting to his feet, able to knock it off for another corner. Lucky for us, he doesn't hit those corners. He doesn't go far wide, and we managed to get away with that one. Spurs' first goal. Let's get straight to it. Ben Davies passes across into Dragusin. Normally you see Mickey van der Ven do it to Romero. This time with their ability, you're seeing Dragusin go right over the top. In this particular instance, he finds Kulusevski in that channel, in that wide space. Now, Kulusevski does well to hold a Vardial, beats him to a 50-50, wins that ball, uses his body shape to get in between them, creates a little distance between the two of them. And here's when I mentioned Madison. Madison, of course, he's running off. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually Gundogan. Gundogan was actually pointing at Madison, saying to his players, pick him up. He hasn't got the legs to catch up with him. Also, you can see that Nico Lewis is nowhere near. He's nowhere near where he's meant to be. And a lot of the players can't see what Madison's running to. Only Kyle Walker can, but Kyle Walker can't see the run that Son's making either. As that ball's played in and Kulusevski gets his head up, that ball comes across into Madison. Madison running, doing a Dele-esque run in between the fullback and the centre-back. First time finish on the volley, side foot composure, 1-0. Happy birthday to you, Madison. I've circled off these two players here because, oh no, there's three players. It's Son, Udogie, and Madison. And again, this time it's our controller, our linchpin, working on that left-hand side, our ball progressor. So they've got Bernardo Silva, we've got Madison. So it's the exact same technique as Man City. We're using Madison to become a dictator in that area of the pitch. He gets that ball in that area and he's able to either do a bounce pass into Sarr at times or find Basuma, or he's got an option into Udogie or even Son. On this particular occasion, it's Solanke he drops in. Big Dom drops into the hole. He drops off into that midfield and Madison's able to fire the ball in there and no one's able to pick up Dom Solanke. And as a result, because these players are so fluid, as Dom drops in, you're able to see Destiny Udogie run into that channel, almost acting like a wide forward, like where Son should be. Son's out wide as a left midfielder in his position. So he's trying to draw the attention of their centre-back in John Stones. The ball goes out to Sonny. Sonny goes straight into Kulusevski. The ball goes right into Kulusevski in the number 9 position. And the positions are so fluid, you expect Kulusevski to hug that right-hand side. Instead, Poro's out there wide, taking out that position. Kulu gets that ball, breaks down, but guess what? The ball breaks again. We find that ball, we play it out to Song really quickly through that second press. As Song gets that ball up, he shapes, he shifts his body, opens his hips up, he looks up, he finds that ball, and you know he's done that numerous times against Man City. He fires it, gets his laces through it. That ball curls wide, and Edison's forced to make a save, and it goes off for a corner kick. Here again, I've squared off 3 Spurs players against 3 City players. And again, that intensity, that intent, defending high up, different type of defending. Right here, we win the ball, but we don't win the ball back. We actually force an error. That ball comes out from the Bernardo Silva. He gives it into Akanji. Akanji then finds Vardial. Vardial plays a blind pass, which Madison reads. He anticipates that ball coming into him. He gets the ball, has a quick think up. He's got eyes in the back of his head, finds Son. He doesn't just stay there, because a lot of times you see players just stop and stay there. So I've circled him and I've said, what does Madison do? He gets on his bike. He finds that space. He keeps moving. He runs into that space. As he runs into that space, Son actually running on autopilot almost, just instinctive, finds the ball around that corner, literally peels that ball off into Madison. Rico Lewis can't find his player. Madison in that pocket where Kyle Walker should be. He's not picking him up, gets that ball, and then with a sublime finish, so composed, dinks it over the keeper. Edison comes out quite quick and he makes himself quite big. So it's not an easy finish, but he has the composure and has the know-how to execute that job. And he puts that goal in, similar to one, I think it was Everton or Brentford at home anyway, when he had that little dink, last goal it was. And he finishes it off and it's 2-0 to Spurs, but great play through the false runners, through Son, intellect, pressing, excellent. And here I've circled out Maddison again, playing that left back role, dictating. And the reason why he's playing that left back role at times, or he's playing a little bit deeper, he's actually helping us hold on to the ball because he's one of our technical players that he doesn't lose it in that area. He's really good at being in tight spaces, tight areas, and using his dribbling skill, using his body feints, dropping a shoulder, changing the angle of the ball, and then, manipulating the ball where he looked like he's going one way, that goes the other way, finds a player, finds Basuma finds Basuma, in fact. Basuma plays it into Sarr. Sarr's able to get it up the field, using that engine of his, literally just keeping the ball ticking. Ball finds Kulusevski out wide in that area. What Kulusevski does well, he runs into the box, slows it down a little bit, waits for people to arrive into space. I'm saying, can he pass it into his teammate Porro? Porro's made a good run on the edge of the box. Can he find a ball, maybe do a 1-2, maybe he find a pass sideways across into the box? Who knows? Can he take a shot himself? Anyway, the ball doesn't go into Porro. He decides to carry it on. Two City players are drawn to him, and they end up reading that he's trying to cut it back. It goes off for a corner. Here, City searching for a goal. They're 2-0 down, and now they're having to be on that front foot. They're having to commit more bodies forward, and as a result of that, there's more space in behind. And as I said before, Ben Davies splitting wide as a centre back. As I showed in that pass map, he's gone wide and he's allowed Maddison to become a left midfielder this time, not a left back, a left midfielder, as Ben Davies is acting as the left back, progressing that ball by carrying it. Now he passes it down that channel as it gets into Maddison. Maddison has the option. Can he give it to Doggy? Can he give it to Sarr? Can he give it to Dom Solanke? Can he give it into Son? What does he do? He passes it into Son. Son makes that run. He peels off. He loses his marker and Kyle Walker. That little space of midfield opens up because of Maddison's run and where Son is positioned. We don't want two players in the same line at once. So what he does, he peels off into the space, recognizes it as the ball goes into it. What Son does well, he carries that ball. He has a decision to make. Can he find either Kulusevski acting as a secondary striker, or can he find Dom Solanke? They've got both defenders pinned. In fact, Kulusevski's occupying two players in Vardial and Kanji there. Dominic Solanke is out muscling Stones in this instance. Son holds on to it. I'm saying, can he find that pass? Because he's paused on it. He's done La Pausa. And what he's done by buying his time, he's actually brought a third player into play in Porro. Porro's making a lovely run. A nice little diagonal thread ball into the box would be perfect for him to run onto, similar to what you saw with João Pedro for Brighton when he was feeding through Matoma. But this is on the opposite side. Porro's making an excellent run. Porro can either go on the end of it, shoot, or do a cut back or ball across the box into Dominic Solanke or Kulusevski. Doesn't matter. And we could be a goal up again. So what happens, not a goal up, a third goal in. So what happens instead, he reverses the pass, does a harder pass into Dom Solanke. Dom Solanke does well, gets it out of his feet, muscles off the defender, gets his shot off. But my question is, he does get his shot off. Keeper does a great save as well, gets a hand to it. But for me, the height is too easy for the keeper. He wants it lower, and can he find the corners? If he wants to be an elite striker, he needs to shoot that ball across the box, find corners, whether it be the near post or far post, preferably the far post. So it's harder for the keeper to get down and make it a chance for himself. But he does well to get his shot off nonetheless. Here I've circled off again. You've got a ball coming in. Undowan's trying to get onto Kulusevski. Kulusevski using his physicality once again and his trickery. He knows when to slow it down to speed it up. He pokes it through the legs, then pokes it around the next player, finds a little 1-2 into Son. Son gets that ball, finds it back to Kulu. Kulu goes into that space, great separation from him and his marker, slows it down a little bit, gets his head up. As he gets his head up, he fires the ball right across the box. A little bit wide for Solanke. Solanke's able to run onto that. He retrieves the ball, gets his head up, cuts it back into Porro. Porro arriving late, hits it into the top bins. 3-0. Game done, second half. Boom. Here, another incident where I'm circling out Dom Solanke, gets his physicality, has a running power, has his ball ability on the ball as a striker in that midfield, working here, working hard, traveling, carrying that ball. They tried to bring him down, but he's got great stability. Some players would see go down in that position, but for him, he likes to stay on his feet. Unlike Richarlison or other players that are a bit weak on the ball, he will stay on his feet. He's got an option now. There's 3 players. Got Kulusevski to my right. I've circled Brennan Johnson, who's come on. With Brennan Johnson running into space, I'm saying, can he find him? Because for me, he's in a more direct route. He's closer to goal. Well, he's in the line of the goal area, whereas Kulusevski's a bit further wide right, in my opinion. I would say that Solanke's peripheral is to going towards Kulusevski, and that's the reason why he's going to pass with a stronger foot into Kulusevski as opposed to passing around into Johnson's pathway. But yeah, here we go. Maybe if Kulu was on that and in that middle position, he would find him. But it goes out wide to Kulu anyway. Kulu's on the right, picks up the ball as he's gone on wide. He's in a good position, gets in the box, but the defender does well to close that situation down. Good defending here. But what Kulu's good at, he's good at turning real quick. And as he turns him, he gets in a position where he's able to shoot. He gets to shoot, and I see the guy's legs are open, slightly open, Edison. I said, can he shoot through his legs? I don't know if you can see that. His legs are wide open, and I'm like, oh, maybe he can poke it through his legs. Maybe he can go near post. Can he get enough power on it? But anyway, he shoots. The keeper does enough. Edison saves it, and that's that chance there. Here we got Kulusevski again in that left-hand channel. Picks that ball up, does well to protect it. It's him versus Foden. He uses his body to shield it, to protect it. Then with that, it's a mismatch because Kulusevski is way more physical than Foden. He uses his hips, he uses his shoulders to create separation on the half turn. He is able to turn Foden. As he turns to Foden, he goes down that line into channel. As I said before, as he creates that little space between him and the defender, he's able to get his head up, plays a through ball first time into Johnson. Johnson gets it out of his feet, hits it early, peaks the goalkeeper, and it's only the width of the post that saves Man City from more blushes. Okay, Porro jumps here onto Grealish. I don't know if you can see it, but basically Grealish is on the ball and Porro is pressing him relentlessly to force an error. We've got 3 players now. Another player in Kulusevski trying to close down that angle, trying to close down all options. I'll go to the next slide. As we're creating that trap, because that's what we're trying to do. We're using Grealish as a trigger. All 3-4 players are coming into him. I've circled Werner there because if the ball goes out wide and he tries to switch it, Werner will be the one to pick up the ball. So there's 3 defensive almost fields. Like the first initial press, there's a second press just in case it beats the first 2 or 3 players. And then the third press would be, the third defensive line, would be Werner if it beats the first 2 presses. And as a fact, it actually happens. But you can see Bergvall actually, let me bring it back a little bit. Bergvall is also pressing, trying to force a mistake, saying, I want you to go out wide. I want you to push out wide. And as Bergvall does that and he goes to stick his leg out, Grealish passes it out, and that's where the interception happens. As he tries to switch it, Werner reads that play, picks the ball up, he's got his afterburners on, takes it down the line. Walker's got no chance, literally. Werner gets his head up in that space. Actually, he doesn't even get his head up. He just knows that Johnson's going to be in that space, and he literally does the play, plays it into that area where I've squared off. Johnson's arriving in that into the box, goes into the 6-yard box, and Johnson's there to finish. And pretty much game match done. Yeah, that's what it is. But it's going to quickly go into the formation. There's a few things I didn't talk about. And obviously, they both set up in a 4-2-3-1. And I wanted to say, when Spurs were on the ball, off the ball, we sometimes set up in a 4-1-4-1, I believe. So you've got 4 players. Kulusevski would drop into this back line. Porro would be a lot more narrow into this area here. The doggy would be narrow. And so then you'd have Madison dropping back into this area, and Son would be the next person. So we were really narrow. We're leaving these channels open on purpose. Why are we leaving these channels open on purpose? Because the further away you are from goal, the easier it is for us to defend. We'll just defend our box. We'll drop players back into the box. Jack as soon as a good defender, Early, he can defend any crosses coming in. Davies is the same. He's not bad in the air. He can defend the 6-yard box or the box. Or Vicario, doing what he did do, come out to the penalty spot and claim any crosses that came into the box. easy to deal with. And that's the reason why you have to give the coaching staff a bit of merit here, because that's what we were trying to do on purpose. With City, though, they gave us a few problems at first. Now, Solanke was the trigger of the press. He was the man to lead the press. But because they had Foden on the pitch, what they would try to do is they would try to get Foden in these half spaces. Haaland would drift wide to the back post at times. Sometimes he would drop in here on Basuma, but sometimes he would drift wide, which would allow Foden to drop centrally. What you'd see with Bernardo Silva, he would act as a left back, with Guardiola playing as a winger, Walker also playing wide as a winger. That was giving City a lot of width. Gundogan here, Savio again inverting. So with these two players inverting, you see Foden pulling here. Silva would act as a third man midfielder. So what you'd have here essentially is 3 City players just coming in and dominating these areas here, literally like that, doing little triangles, quick 1-2 passes. And then at times you'd see Foden drop central, and he was able to find, and they did it on purpose. They were trying to target players like Dragushin and Porro, using that as the weaker side, knowing that Porro had a few mistakes. Dragushin, you saw what happened at Galatasaray, and they decided to go along that side. But what happened also with this as well, when Haaland would drop in, Foden would sometimes drop into these areas as well, in between the lines, and become a danger man. But you saw a lot of the time that with City, they built up heavily on that side. Also, Rico Lewis as well would drop in, and he'd be an extra body, and they would do little 1-2s, little triangles, Haaland popping off here, Foden sometimes linking in, and then the ball would go out wide to Walker. But what I noticed was Walker is not a crosser of the ball. So anytime they went down to the right, Walker would recycle down back to Lewis. And that was slowing them down a lot, even though Walker was providing them with width. But what happened was that was an out ball for Son, Maddison. So Maddison, as I said, sometimes would be the left back, Doki would be midfield, and Ben Davies would split wider. You'd see Jackson split a little bit wider, Porro come up. Kulu not hugging the line. He's sometimes drifting inside, becoming a secondary striker. Solanke building up. And you'd see, as I said before, sometimes you'd see that almost like a small diamond, or even a small pentagon. You'd see that kind of phase of play here. And this is how Spurs are building up now. And not always would it be a doggy in this space. Sometimes a doggy would swap over with Maddison right here, and you'd see Maddison and Basuma in a double pivot, with Sarr pushing on a little bit more further here. Do you know what I mean? So that would, and sometimes we were happy for Basuma to get the ball, and we would build up in different ways, which was quite impressive. So sometimes we could go long into a Son, or we could play it short into Davies. So we had different ways of building up, even into Maddison. Maddison would rotate often if these two were close to each other, which we did see sometimes. You'd see him kind of come across, and then that's when you'd see Kulusevski in this channel right here. So it was different patterns of play with Spurs in this game, which was quite impressive. Sometimes we'd see Basuma in the back 3 at times as well. So you'd see Basuma building up from the back. Sometimes Vicario will be in the back 3. Do you know what I mean? So it was always different players rotating, knowing different roles. And what we did see from your Basuma and your Davies and Dragusin, what you would see a lot of is you would see long balls, almost those long balls, those diagonal balls into the space here over the top, with Kulusevski again coming across, peeling off into these wide areas. And Bernardo Silva didn't really have the physicality as a left back to deal with him, and Guardiola never had the physicality to deal with Kulusevski either. So it was a mismatch from both sides. Lewis didn't have the legs to get back at times. Really good on the ball, City were. Foden was non-existent defensively. So there was loads of issues they had. Stones had to come off at halftime because we ran ragged, and he's only coming back from fitness. So there's a few things that I thought Spurs did quite well. But again, I thought Maddison really well, being almost a linchpin, sometimes in midfield, sometimes left back, sometimes left midfielder, sometimes arriving late into the box and becoming that, like I said, Dele Alli. I want to see more of these type of runs where he arrives late, he understands where the space is, and I want to see more link ups between him and Kulu where they interchange positions. But no doubt Kulu's going to get all the headlines because he scored the goals. He no, sorry, he got the assists. He did a lot of running, physicality, but as well, he dominated Silva and Guardiola. Really top performance from him. Nutmeg players, more flashy in that sense. So it makes more sense. But guys, I'm going to end it there. Please leave any comments, and if you do like the video, like it. If you don't like the video, let me know in the comments. But yeah, come on, you Spurs, 4-0, what a win. And we're showing different ways to defend, how to draw presses out, to draw the opposition onto us. And we're being clinical and creating a lot of big chances. That's one thing I will say. So big up to the boys. Enjoy the win while you can, man. Peace and love, and come on, you Spurs. I'll see you back on Spurs Kings TV. Peace.